Hi there, I am the Reverend Danny Crosby, a Unitarian minister serving congregations in Altrincham and in Urmston in the northwest of England, and I offer this devotion as a balm for the heart, for the mind, for the spirit and for the soul. And it's titled Desiderata, a simple, humble way of life. And I'm going to begin by sharing the poem Desiderata by Max Ehrmann. Is it a prayer? Is it a poem? You decide. Go placidly amid the noise and haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even the dull and ignorant. They too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are vexatious to the spirit. If you compare yourselves with others, you may become vain and bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your career, however humble. It is a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery. But let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Be yourself. Especially do not feign affection. Neither be critical about love, for in the face of all aridity and disenchantment, it is as perennial as the grass. Take kindly the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune. But do not distress yourself with imaginings. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him to be, and whatever your labours and aspirations. In the noisy confusion of life, keep peace with your soul. With all its sham drudgery and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. Be careful. Strive to be happy. Such things to desire for. Desiderata. Life has felt a little stormy and loud and aggressive at times of late, both internally and externally for me. I found myself needing to seek solace and peace, to find quietness, to be still. I know I am not alone in this, as I have walked and listened and I've shared with other folk. It seems to be a feeling in the air and within the soul of people. And I've gone into deeper places of silence recently, both shared silence and silence alone. Well, apart from Molly, of course, when I'm alone, she's always there. But external noise I've reduced. I've been confronted by and been revisited by some old ghosts. Seen some of the aspects of myself that I've always struggled with, actually, in this quietness and stillness and silence. I've been visited by the odd demon, I have to say. I am what you might call these days what people sometimes refer to, and I think I am, a highly sensitive person, for good or for bad. It is who I am, and one thing that life has taught me is that it is vital that we come to terms with who we are wholly, fully. For it will help us understand others if we do, and help us come to terms with others who they truly are too. But if we can't truly come to terms with who we are, we will not truly come to terms with who anybody else is. We cannot avoid some of the storms of life, but we can find ways to come through them. Sometimes alone, sometimes all alone actually, but usually with others. We come together with others. Often when we come to the other side of the rainbow, we find actually that we're back home, but somehow better prepared for whatever the journey might hold as we continue on our daily life, the journey. And I felt this powerful these last few days. And the key to coming through, to journeying on, is I believe, and I've experienced it again on a deeper level these last few days, is to find that stillness, find a stillness deep within each of our beings, our bodies, our minds and our souls, not to separate the three either. To find what will sustain us and enable us to be not just sustained, to be of use to one another, to better accompany each other through the storms that come in life. Not to do so perfectly, of course, no one ever does, for sometimes it's too much for anybody. And it's important to remember that we're not the only ones who struggle. We struggle, it's a universal thing. And we don't need some special superpower. We don't need to be Superman or some superhero. That's a mistake humans always make. The idea that we have to be a super person and develop these superpowers. We just need to find the ordinary kind of power. And we need to prepare ourselves. And how do we do that? Well, through spiritual practice, actually. That's the key to it. It opens, it connects us to it, to that gift within the ordinary, that blessing within the ordinariness of life. The key is to calm our minds and still our souls and hearts, to fill our hearts really with love, and that will calm our bodies, minds and souls. It's said, that Gandhi loved storms. He began his life as a timid child, but he learned to keep his mind so steady that he could face tremendous crises with courage, compassion, wisdom, and a sense of humour. How vital that is. A sense of humour, there's nothing more vital. It helps us through many storms. It's helped me. Laughed a bit this week, And of course, it's useful to remember that originally to be in good humour actually meant to be in good health. The humors, those coloured fluids of the body that the medievals believed in. They might have got that bit wrong, but I suspect to be in good humour is to be in good health. I think that was correct. And I found good humour again recently with colleagues and with friends as I've been going through some real challenges and a really busy time in life. We have the capacity to deal with whatever challenges life throws at us, but we do need to be calm, be still, in mind and in heart and in soul, to draw on those resources that lie deep within us and all around us, for I believe that same thing is within everything. There's nowhere, how can I flee from thy presence? But we do need to accompany one another, to encourage each other when life just gets too much. Sometimes we need to lean on someone. Lean on me when you're not strong. I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. And sometimes I need to lean too. Done that a bit recently. When I consider Jesus' attempts to teach his disciples, I often think there was frustration there. Now I know this is perhaps an unorthodox view, But then you expect that from me, I guess. But I think what Jesus gets frustrated is in his attempts to teach those that followed him to find that power, that still small voice within themselves. For he did that as he took time alone to commune with God. Surely that's what he was trying to teach those that follow him to do. And I think, again, maybe a controversial view or an unorthodox view would be more accurate. But I think when the story when he calms the storm, I think that's what this is really trying to teach us. When he rebukes the storm and says, "Have you no faith?" When he does so, he's doing it because he knows that they actually can calm their storm themselves. They just do not have the faith in themselves to do it. So he shows them the way. After all, he knew that they'd been through many storms. Some of them were fishermen. They knew the storms of that Sea of Galilee. Storms would rise up from nowhere all the time in the Sea of Galilee. But they became enthralled by what they saw him do and his ability to calm the storm, rather than having enough faith to come through the storms themselves. And not even to do it alone, actually, to do so together. I think that's what that story is trying to teach. But some may consider that an unorthodox view. For the storms are there within and without. There's always storms, and they can come from nowhere. And I wonder what holds you, what sustains you through the storms of life, both the internal and the external storms. Well, something that I've been rereading recently, I've returned to, I shared at the beginning of this devotion, Desiderata. It's something I've come across at different times in my life. I've seen it on people's walls, toilet walls actually. Apparently it's a common place to leave Desiderata, to read while you're otherwise engaged, I guess. To stop, and if you're there, you're kind of forced to read it, aren't you? There on the toilet door as you look forward, so to speak. If you're going for it. Anyway, I'm not going to go further. I was given a copy of Desiderata a dozen years ago. As a gift, actually, for something I did for someone. And I go back to it from time to time. I was looking at it again recently. It's a simple and beautiful way of living, a design for life, if you like. That if you followed it, I'm sure you'd live a great life. Desiderata is about finding peace of mind in the storms of life. We cannot stop the storms. They are as much a part of life as the sunshine. I've seen that this week with the snow and the beautiful sunshine here in the north of England. Now, a storm for one person may be a beautiful day for others. Our storms are not always the same. What seems like heaven to one person may appear as hell to another. One thing I have learned and continue to learn is that although we are born of the same flesh and have the same spirit within us, we human beings are a diverse lot in every sense, actually. We're learning more and more about that. And we take in life so differently. I only need to observe my brother to understand this. We are so very different. We experience life so very differently. The way we sense it and think about it, we're wired up differently, but we feel life differently. Our senses take in life differently. All people, we humans, all of us, are a mass of contradictions too. To badly phrase Walt Whitman, do I contradict myself? Very well then, I contradict myself. I contain multitudes. It is important to remember this about ourselves and everybody else, and life actually. To understand as the Gospels teach that my name is Legion, for we are many. I think that's the same as Whitman, really. That we are a variety and we are complex, And we have a variety and complex ways of responding to life, of responding to each other. And I think to truly understand this is to become spiritually aware, to understand, to step outside of our narrow selves. We are all a ball of contradictions, and we all possess these contradictions within each of us. Our world is large, it contains multitudes, and yes, everything and everybody contradicts itself. And we have to look and listen to these contradictions both within ourselves and one another. We need to look and listen, but not with narrow eyes or narrow hearts or ears close to the world, open and wide, inviting it all in. Can we look at the world and see the world in each other's eyes, in the windows of our souls? Do we see the whole world in our neighbour? It isn't always easy. I know in my life there have been times when my eyes have narrowed, felt it, my heart closing and closing into myself a little bit recently as a storm. And it's important to remember that about others. It can be difficult though when they're pressing against you. So I've been revisiting Desiderata. Desiderata begins with those beautiful words, go placidly amid the noise and haste. Please note it said placidly, not passively. In my experience, there is nothing passive about living spiritually alive. The spiritual life is an active life. We are not merely observers here. We are active participants, and life demands that we play our roles fully, while not becoming the director of other people's lives, or attempt to control what other people do, or the way that life is. We are part of life, but we are not here to control life. We are here to live life fully. We need peace and placidity, but not to be passive in that. We need to play our part fully. And we need to let others do that too. All my troubles are not by what I do, by what fear prevents me from doing that I should be doing. Some of the storms recently have been due to my inaction and my guilt for that. But I've rectified most of it through doing what I'm here to do. Thankfully, thank God for that. But I've also been returning to Desiderata. It was written 100 years ago by Max Ehrmann, copyrighted in 1927, but penned before that date. And it's spoken to the generations since. It's developed its own life actually, including myths around it, which attempt to make it timeless. And it has a timeless quality about it, but it's 100 years old. And there was a myth that developed about its timelessness following a reproduction of Desiderata by the Reverend Frederick Cates for a collection of inspirational works for his congregation in 1959. And this version of Desiderata was written on church notepaper for that church, and the notepaper was headed, "The Old St. Paul's Church, Baltimore, AD 1692, which was the year that the church was founded. Now, copies of this manuscript were circulated, and as a result, a myth began to grow that someone from there penned it on that date. And this really took off, and the whole mythos and actually the popularity of Desiderata really took off when a copy was found at the bedside of the deceased American politician Adlai Stevenson in 1965. One of the most important figures in developing the United Nations he was actually. A great figure of the 20th century. But it's not true. Although people argue, and you'll find stuff on the internet claiming that this story, but it isn't true. But I like the myth anyway. And it does lend a timeless and universal quality that makes a true mythos, because it connects us to all people in all times. Desiderata is a beautiful and practical poem, or is it a prayer, or I don't know what it is. Well, I do think I know what it is. Through my eyes, what I see is a wonderful design for living to show us how to truly live spiritually alive in this world, to be of use. One I attempt to follow, falteringly, despite the storms of life, both outside and in. It enables me, if I follow it, to do what I can, to truly live faithfully and to rest and to allow life to be what life is, while I play my role in life to the best of my ability, whilst accepting, trying not to wrestle with my multitude of contradictions and the legion of contradictions throughout the world. But Desiderata is really about desire, desiring this peace. Desiderata means something that is desired, something that's truly wanted. More than that, something that's needed, but more than that, something that's desired. And it's describing this desire to find peace, to search for inner peace in our often chaotic world. This is the desire, so we can live, so we can travel peacefully, placidly, but not passively, through the noise, chaos and haste of the world in which we live. It's not about shying away from life or being some detached observer of life. No. It's not about shying away. It's about living amongst all that is happening and to remain of use by being amongst all that is happening, despite the legion of contradictions in life and within ourselves, but to find the peace, this desired for peace in the reality of life. The key is to take with us this inner integrity, this inner peace, to walk passively. You can call it peace of mind, that, if you want, or you can call it faith. I call it faith. Or some might call it freedom from existential angst. I call it living by and through faith. But no one's like that all the time. Well, I've not met anybody who is. There are those that try to pretend, but they always crack. For we contain multitude, legions of contradictions. We are legion, for we are many. Do I contradict myself? Very well, I contradict myself. I am large, I contain multitudes. And to be human is to be aware about the multitude of ways of being in this world, to understand that we're not all the same. And even when people are given a label, doesn't mean that they're all the same either. That's a terrible mistake to make and disrespectful to their full humanity. But the key to live in this world, something I keep on relearning, is to find silence, is to find stillness, is to make time and space in our lives. And that's why at the heart of every religious tradition I know, at the heart of communal spirituality, is to find this stillness and this silence, whether we do so at home alone or by coming together with others in love. And the key is to find what works for us, for we're not all. We all respond differently to things. I find peace when I walk in silence, or when I sit in silence without distraction. I find it when I sit with others in silence. Now, I love to be active and I love lively worship, but I need silence. My heart needs silence. My heart needs stillness. It always has. It's something I sought as a little boy. Something I've sought all my life. From my earliest memories, I would wander off all alone. When I wandered off in my little bubble, walking wherever I went, still with my God, although I wouldn't have used that word then perhaps, that's when I felt most safe. When I could walk placidly amid the noise and the haste, but alone. been revisiting Desiderata again. And another thing I love about Desiderata is the very practical advice it offers to us. You might call it common sense, or some might call it uncommon sense, suggesting ways to live with in such a way that will nurture this inner peace, like being on good terms with people, not comparing ourselves to others, taking time to honestly say what is on our mind, but doing so quietly, not raising our voices, quietly but clearly, making the point. Seem like good, sensible habits to cultivate a decent way of living in this sometimes stormy world. You see, by making the effort to speak truth quietly and clearly, we're actually choosing peace for ourselves and others too, and refusing to get caught up in the violence and extremism we seem to hear that's being shouting so loudly around in everything recently, getting louder. And when we listen to others, to hear their truth, we are respecting them as they are. We are recognising their inherent worth and dignity. We are choosing peace. We are walking placidly with them, side by side. The best way to have a conversation, actually. To walk together, no one leading, side by side. That's how we're meant to walk. Placidly together. Recognising each other's multitude of complexities and contradictions, what makes us who we are. But of course this is not easy, especially in our complex world and in our complex lives at times, our lives that are so full of contradictions. Sometimes seeking resolution is just too much. Can't do it today. Not today. Tell the world to go away. Not today. Sometimes we can get caught up comparing ourselves. Sometimes it's just all too much. We get weary, as I have felt recently, and I've sought solace and peace and quiet and alone time. But I keep returning to Desiderata. Desiderata offers a path for gently building a better way. It says, do not feign affection. Be yourself. Accept the changes that come with aging. Gracefully surrendering the things of youth. To nurture strength of spirit. To shield you in times of misfortune. We all get those. Desiderata is about knowing ourselves, our many multitudes of contradictions and the legions of them in the world. It's about growing to trust what is at the heart of us, one day at a time, gradually building upon this as well, brick by brick, day by day, strengthening that inner core so that whatever sudden misfortune happens, you can hope of keeping peace with your soul. But of course, no one will be able to go placidly amid the noise and haste of life all the time. There will be days when we just want the world to go away. I have those days, had them recently. So remember, we are legion. We all contain multitudes of contradictions, as does the world. It doesn't add up. Sorry, it just doesn't. Doesn't always make sense. But Desiderata offers something to help us keep on going through those storms, both the internal and the external. Desiderata to me is to long for that love, that peace that is divine, that desired for peace that is divine. Be still, my soul, the Lord is by thy side. Living by Desiderata is one path that can lead us to that peace that passeth all understanding. And I have certainly found that once again in recent weeks in the storm of life, both internal and external. Desiderata encourages us to live fulfilling and meaningful lives. Desiderata offers advice on how to do so by reminding us to be kind and compassionate toward others, to be true to ourselves, to strive for inner peace and appreciate the beauty of the world around us. It reminds us to nurture strength of spirit, to shield you in sudden misfortune. But do not distress yourself with dark imaginings, for many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. We create our own monsters a lot of the time. Desiderata is about finding that love that surely we all desire, that love that we desire within life and within ourselves, despite life's real challenges and the uncertainties. No one knows what's coming. Desiderata encourages us to seek the good in ourselves and the good in others, and to appreciate what we have here now in our lives, to love what we have. It reminds us that we are all born from the same spirit and the same flesh, despite our seeming differences. In fact, it's the fact that we all have multitudes of contradictions that should remind us of that. What makes us the same is our contradictions, our own uniqueness, our true diversity. Desiderata reminds me that we are all connected, children of the universe, children of this world, children of God, and that we should treat one another, including ourselves, with the same respect, with the same kindness, and with loving dignity. May we all go placidly amidst the noise and the haste. Amen. I'm going to end with some final words of blessing. We need to bless more, and we can all bless. And we bless when we give ourselves wholeheartedly to life. So some final words of blessing. Go placidly amidst the noise and haste, and remember what peace there is in silence. Listen with your hearts. Speak your truth in love. Be grateful for what is yours. Be at peace with God, whatever you conceive God to be, and whatever your labours and aspirations in the noisy confusion of life. Keep peace with your soul. Always, always, always remember that this is still a beautiful world. So strive to be happy. And may we carry the vision of this desired peace. May we carry it with us. And may we do so in all that we feel, in all that we think, in all that we say.